Hi everybody, this is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. Welcome to lesson number 39. In this lesson, we will introduce the student to the CK rule. Let's begin by setting up the table. You'll need your top 160 sight word list, the sight word study method instruction sheet, the card pack on which the student is currently working, some blank index cards, a highlighter, markers, and some pencils. For the short vowel drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet, the keyword pictures, and the keyword sentence. For the phonemic awareness drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet and the colored tiles for the student. For the visual drill and auditory drill, you'll need the teacher instruction sheet and the student's card pack. You'll have to cut out the cards for the syllable card drill in advance. I like to use different colors for syllable 1 and syllable 2. Then we'll have the magnetic letter tile drills for reading and for spelling. For those ones, you're going to need the cookie sheet with the magnetic letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape. We'll have the syllable pounding instruction sheet, the kinesthetic discovery sheet for introducing a new phoneme-grapheme relationship, and the sheets that came with the lesson plan. You'll see that there is the CK rule on the top because we're introducing that new concept today, and underneath there would be the single word list, the story, and the 3 sentences for the writing portion. In addition to all that, we'll have some sorts. So we'll have a sort for the CH-TCH relationships, and a sort for yes, no, do we double it for the FLS said doubling rule. You have to cut these ones out in advance. And we'll have a sort for K and CK. And that'll be in our new concept part of the lesson. In addition, you might have a timer on the table because you might have introduced fluency into the lesson for the student if they're ready for that. If you do that, you'll need a proven program such as Read Naturally or a 6-minute reading solution. And if you'd like to learn more about when to add fluency, go back to lesson number 33 where I discuss it. Let's begin with the sight word study method. Student, can you take out your list of index cards with the words written on them on which you're currently working? And I want you to read through each card. When you read a word correctly, you'll put a check mark in the corner of your card. Then hand the card pack to your teacher, and it's your teacher's turn to read. Your teacher will read each card, and you will write down the word. When you get one correct, then you'll put a check mark in the other corner of the card. Then to have a quick discussion with your teacher about which of those words you believe are mastered. If any are mastered, you can take them out of the pack, and then if there's time permitting, you can introduce a new sight word. It's time for the short vowel drill. Student, can you take out your keyword pictures and your keyword sentence? You'll trace the keyword shape, apple, and then you will say the sound, ah. You'll go through all the sounds that way, apple, Eddie, itchy, olive, up, repeating it as many times as your teacher deems necessary. And then you'll say the keyword sentence, stretching out the vowel sounds as you do it. Let's do the phonemic awareness drill. Student, you're going to need your colored tiles for this one. I'm going to tell you that your word is tent. Can you repeat that word? Now try using it in a sentence. I might say, when I go camping, I use a tent. Use the word tent in a sentence. Now I'd like you to use your colored tiles to build the word tent. Okay, when you finish, tap it and say it. Teacher, check the work. All right, if that word is tent, you should have 4 tiles down and there should be different colors for each tile. T, e, n, t. Find the t in tent. Are you touching it? Now change the t into a b. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get bent? When I crouch down, I am bent over. Okay. Find the b in bent. Change it into a s. Now tap it and say it. What's your new word? Did you get sent? If you did, that's right. Can you use that word in a sentence? I sent him to the store to buy some milk. Okay, if that's sent, grab a new color and call it P. I'd like you to put the P right after the S in sent. What's your new word? Tap it and say it. Did you get spent? Can you use spent in a sentence? I might say, I spent all the money. Okay, we can end there so you can put your tiles away. It's time for the visual drill. Student, you're going to need your card pack for this one. The teacher flashes the card and the student says the sound. What sound does this one make? Teacher, you can do this for about 6 to 8 cards and then come back to me. Let's do the auditory drill. We'll use the same card pack for this one, but this time the teacher doesn't show the card. Student, your sound is F. Can you repeat that sound? Okay, what symbol or symbols go with the sound F? As you write them, say the sound again, and then underline them and say it one more time. Then we'll check our work. Did you say F and PH? If you did, that's right. Teacher, you can use this method with 6 to 8 cards and then come back to me. It's time for the syllable card drill. The teacher has this one set up on the table for you. You're going to read down the syllables in column number 1 and then read down the syllables in column number 2. Then you'll read across the rows making nonsense words as you go. Then it's time to unscramble things. Leave the words in column 1 as they are and just unscramble the ones in column 2. And you will make some real words. As you're making the words, be sure to read the word by tapping it and saying it, and then discuss the meanings. You'll also put some of those words into sentences. Let's do some syllable pounding. I'm going to say a word, and student, you'll stretch out your arm, and for every syllable that you hear, you're going to let one of your fingers, they're going to pound it out. So if I was saying Shawna, you would pound out Shawna. Okay, your word is helmet. Did you pound out 2 syllables? Helmet. If you did, that's correct. Try this one. Magnetic. How many did you get? 3? That's what I hear. Magnetic. Okay, how about ject? Not a word on its own, but it is a syllable. Did you say 1? If you did, that's correct. Inject means to throw, so if we add a prefix on it, we can add to the meaning of that word. For example, inject. How many syllables in that one? 2. Inject. The I sound in in and the S sound in ject are telling us there's 2 syllables. And when you think about that, throw in is literally the meaning of inject. And when we inject ourselves with something, like a vaccine, we're throwing something into our body. Hot dog. How many syllables? Did you pound out 2? If you did, that's correct. Let's move on to the CH-TCH drill. We've been talking about how some words end in a TCH and some words end in a CH. How do we know which one to use? Do you remember the rule? You can take out your rule card if you need it. Have a quick discussion with your teacher about what kind of words end in CH and what kind of words end in TCH. Do that now. Okay, to do this drill, we have the 2 cards on the table, and the teacher has some words that are cut out, and they're not going to show them to you in the start. So the teacher has a word, and I'll just give you an example. I would say, your word is hunch. Can you repeat that word? And I might say, I have a hunch that you are going to do a great job on this drill. Like I have a guess, a suspicion. Okay. I want to know if hunch would be a TCH rule or a CH spelling. Okay, how are we going to figure it out? Let's tap it out. Ch. And you're asking yourself, because remember that CH does not want to be the babysitter. So does that short vowel have a babysitter that is not CH? Ch. What did you hear in there? I heard the n sound, so it does have another babysitter. So that means that that's not a situation for TCH. So the teacher will reveal this to you, and you can sort it under the CH pile. Teacher, you've got an eye on the time, so you'll know how many cards to do. And do some, and then come back to me. We've been talking about the doubling rule. How in a one-syllable closed syllable word that ends in F, L, S, or Z, we're going to double the F, L, S, or Z. We have a sentence that we use, a keyword sentence, that helps us to remember this. Can you take out your Jeff, Will, Pass, Buzz sheet, and you can have it on hand for this? Okay, student and teacher, have a quick discussion about how Jeff, Will, Pass, Buzz helps us to remember this doubling rule. Okay, and then on the table, there are two headings. So either, yes, this one has to get doubled because it ends in an F, L, S, or Z, or no, we don't have to double it, which means it's spelled correctly. You can look at your first one, and I'll just walk you through this so you know how to do it. And so the question is, which heading does this go under? Does it go under the yes or no heading? Does it have to get doubled, or no, it's spelled correctly? So apply the rule. Is this a one-syllable, closed syllable? Yes, it's closed in with a babysitter. And does it end in S, L, S, or Z? It does. So then you can go through that step of adding the S to spell it correctly. What's that word? Tap it and say it. That's lass, isn't it? Lass is another word for young lady. And then you can sort it under the S pile. Do that now for as many as your teacher deems necessary, and then come back to me. Let's move on to the new content part of the lesson. Today we're talking about the CK rule. What happens at the end of a word when you have that K sound? Sometimes you use K, sometimes you use CK. How do you know which one to use? It works a lot like that TCH rule. So right now, can you take out your rule card? It's got a milk truck here, and it's got CK rule at the top. And let's go through the rule. So the rule says that in a one-syllable base that ends in that K sound, if the sound that comes right before the K is a short vowel, then you're going to write it as CK. If not, you can just write it as K. So let's look at some examples. If I have this word, let's tap this one out and say it. We've got T-A-K. Well, let's apply the rule. So is it a one-syllable base? Yes. Do we have this one short vowel sound followed by the K sound directly? Yeah, right after the A, we have K. Well, that must mean we have a CK situation. And you can think about it the same way that CH doesn't like to be a babysitter, K doesn't like to babysit either. You can say, oh, but when he's by himself, he gets nervous. So the C steps in to help him out. Okay, let's look at a different word. Okay. Is that a situation where we need CK? So first of all, let's just figure out what the word is. So let's tap it and say it. Tank. Here we have the short vowel. And is it directly followed by the K, or is there somebody in the middle? There is someone there already. So the K is not babysitting, so he's happy. You do not need CK in that word. There is a little phrase, or there's something that we use to help us to remember this. And so we say milk truck. And there used to be, in the olden days, like when my great-grandma Kate used to get milk delivered, it would come in a truck that looked like this. And the truck would actually come to her house and it would give her milk in glass bottles. That's how milk used to be delivered. So we'd have a milk truck that came to help us out do that. The word milk is a situation where we have M-I-L-K. So the L is right after that vowel, so we don't need CK. So that'll remind us like when not to use it. And then we have the word truck. Can you tap out truck? T-R-U-C-K. So you can hear that the is followed directly by that k. So that's a situation where we'd use CK. Let's practice applying the CK rule. And we'll do this through a sort. Your teacher has the cards that you need for the sort all ready for you on the table. To do this drill, you've got two headings, CK and K. And we're going to decide what words are going to need K and what words are going to need CK. You get to look at the choices this time. So here's an example. You would look at this one. And this little symbol above the A is standing for the short sound. So you'd read it as apple. So this would be b-a. And I want to add the k sound, k, onto ba to form back. And I want to know, would I have to write this as CK or C? Well, because that k sound would come right after the vowel, I would have to add CK to make back. Do you see how to do that? You can do as many cards as your teacher thinks you have time to do, and then come back to me. Let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for reading. You'll need your cookie sheet with your magnetic letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape. Okay, your sound is Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Your next sound is I. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is O. Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The last sound is K. Find the correct tile or tiles and pull them to the middle. Think about the spelling rules that may need to get applied. Now tap it and say it. Did you get milk? M-I-L-K? If you did, that's correct. Explain to your teacher why we don't need to write that as CK. Why do we just need the K in that situation? All right, put your tiles away and get ready for a new word. All right, the first sound is eh. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The next sound is O. Can you repeat that sound? Now find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. The last sound is K. Can you repeat that sound? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Apply any spelling rules that you think need to get applied to that one. And tap it and say it. Did you write down E-L-K and say elk? An elk is a large animal, looks kind of like a moose or kind of like a big deer. If you did, that's correct. And why don't we write that one with CK? Why is it just a K word? Tell your teacher. Now, teacher, if there's time, you can do an extra word in this magnetic letter tile drill. And if not, then you can move the student on to reading the single word list and then reading the short story. If you have a fluency piece that needs to get added to the lesson, you'll do it right after that short story. And if you'd like to learn more about fluency, go back to lesson 33 where I discuss when you should add that. Let's do the magnetic letter tile drill for spelling. Student, you're going to need your cookie sheet with the magnetic letter tiles spread in a rainbow shape. Your word is buck. Can you repeat that word? I might say, I was walking in the woods and saw a large buck. Now, can you make a sentence that uses the word buck? What's the first sound that you hear in buck? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in the word buck? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the last sound that you hear in buck? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now apply any spelling rules that you feel need to get applied, and that might mean that you're changing letters or adding. Okay, and now tap it and say it. Did you spell it B-U-C-K? If you did, that's correct. Explain to your teacher why that word needs to be C-K instead of just K. Okay, put your tiles away, get ready for the next word. Your word is tick. Can you repeat that word? If I was putting it in a sentence, I might say the clock gave a loud tick. How would you use tick in a sentence? And what's the first sound that you hear in tick? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the next sound that you hear in tick? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. What's the last sound that you hear in tick? Find the correct tile and pull it to the middle. Now apply any spelling rule that needs to get applied. Okay, tap it and say it. Did you spell tick T-I-C-K? If you did, that's correct. Explain to your teacher why that word needs a CK. Now let's move on to some writing of single words. You'll need some lined paper and a pencil for this one. I'm going to say a word, and you're going to either tap out the sounds, saying each sound that you hear, and then grabbing the word, saying the whole word, and then writing it down. Or you could trace it on your body. So you trace the shape and say the sound that the shape makes, and grab the whole word, say the whole word, and then write it down. So your choice on how you want to do this. Your word is clock. Can you repeat that word? And I might say the clock is on the wall. Okay, tap it or trace it, and then write it down. Teacher checks the work. All right, your next word is milk. Can you repeat that word? Okay, we remembered the CK rule by remembering the picture of the milk truck. Tap it or trace it and then write it down. Teacher checks the work. Teacher, you've got an eye on the time, so you'll know how many more of these you can do. And then you'll move on to the 3 sentences. Read the 3 sentences out aloud to the student and let the student decide which 2 will be written. And then after the student writes a sentence, have the student use chops to check the work. Let's do a quick review before you go. We've been talking about what happens when a word ends in ch, the CH. There's a rule that comes in sometimes. So is this word spelled correctly? Tap it and say it. P-a-ch, patch. Do we need TCH or CH in this situation? Well, we'll have to go back to our rule. So in a 1-syllable word, where a short vowel is followed directly by the ch sound, that is a situation where we would have to write it as TCH. I'm wondering about the word ranch. Can you tap that one out and then discuss it with your teacher? Is that a TCH situation or just CH? Okay. And then we've been talking about the CK rule today, which works in a very similar way to the TCH rule. So knowing what you know, I'm wondering if you could tap and say this word. If I did, it would be p-u-k, puck, like a hockey puck. Is this one spelled correctly? This is where that CK rule is coming in. So if it's a 1-syllable word where there's one short vowel followed directly by the k sound, well, the k does not like to be the babysitter, so the C steps in to help out. He's like, I'm almost the same as a K. I can make the k sound. So use me, use me. So that is how we spell puck. And then the other rule that we were talking about is this doubling rule, where in some words, the letter that's at the end of the word is going to get doubled. Student, we have a special keyword that helps. It's a sentence that helps us to remember this. Can you tell your teacher that sentence? And tell them what letters are going to get doubled when they're at the end of a one-syllable, closed syllable word and they end in those special letters. Do that now. Okay, well, that is the end of lesson 39. Great job today, everybody. This is Shawna Odette from the Flying Cat Academy. The way we do this drill will depend on your student. For some students, it would be best just to have the student tap it and say it, and then move the word to the correct pile so everything's visual, they can see what they're doing. For other students who need a bit more of a challenge, the teacher could have the cards and not show them to the student, and the student would listen and tell you what is the last sound in that word. So if the word was class, they would say the last sound is S. So that S, that's an S, it must be going to get doubled. And then you could reveal it and put it in the correct pile. So I'll let you choose how you do that one.